Hi everyone, this is my review of A Quiet Place, my audio review of A Quiet Place, which is a shame because I would have loved to have found some way to do this review in like sign language or something, or I suppose I could still whisper, but I don't know. The gimmicks, love them or hate them. I see sometimes people do reviews and they try to mimic the gimmick of what the thing they're reviewing. Anyway, focusing on this movie, A Quiet Place, I do not typically see a lot of horror films, but recently horror is starting to come back, I would say, or it's starting to find new life because it's starting to be taken more seriously as a genre of filmmaking. And like every year, there's always that one horror movie in recent memories. There's a horror movie that comes out early in the year that is remembered and that people talk about. Like It Follows was 2015, and then 2016 was The Witch. 2017 had Get Out, which was actually nominated for Best Picture. And then 2018 is The Quiet Place. That seems to be the film that takes up the mantle this year. And could A Quiet Place go the distance and be a Best Picture contending film? There's still Black Panther that could potentially be a Best Picture contender this year. And you don't usually see two movies from early on in the year contending, especially when they're both genre films. It's like the Academy is going to have to make a choice. Like, what film is going to be the new Get Out? The black film or the horror film? Like, which aspect of Get Out is it that appeal to you? But I digress. So, A Quiet Place is a film, for those of you who have not seen the commercials. The premise is simple. It takes place after the apocalypse. There is some sort of weird creature that is constantly roaming the forest and is fast and is strong and is indestructible. And the only way you can avoid this creature's gaze is to not let it find you. And this creature is blind. It doesn't see you. It doesn't even have echolocation. All it has is sound. So as long as you stay quiet, the creature is not going to find you. But if you so much as speak a single word, then it's coming for you. So this is a pretty scary premise and a neat idea for a film. And it's interesting because this is one of those rare films that almost feels like an interactive experience. Obviously, films by their nature are not interactive, but it is interesting to watch. You get surprisingly sucked into it. Now, I saw this film in the theater, and the audience that I saw it with was not a terribly loud audience. There were a few people in the audience that were sort of whispering, and I was like, shh. But I don't know, if you can watch it at home, if you can watch it at home, that's probably a good way to watch it too, when it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray. Keep in mind that this is not one of those horror movies to have like on a slumber party where you're like getting a bunch of friends together and let's all watch a horror movie and make fun of it. This is a movie you want to be quiet when you watch it. I'm actually really glad I did not bring my dad to see this movie, because I just know if Dad had been there the whole time, we would have been looking like, what's going on? Shh. But I digress. You want to be quiet. There is very little music in this film. What music there is effective, and it does kind of make you wonder. You're like, huh, well, if they're playing music in the scene, I guess the monster's not going to come out. They leave the lack of music for scenes that are going to be suspenseful, because the monsters can come at any moment. They've surrounded the whole place, and anyone can die. We're given that information straight from the very beginning. No one in this family is safe. No scene is safe. Even when you kind of sort of let your guard down, you have to, like you always have to be quiet. There's never a moment where you can just breathe. Well, they sort of find ways to play with it. They have a soundproofed area near the end, and they have a scene near a waterfall where they can speak because the area itself is so loud and the creatures won't locate them. But yeah, it's a film you don't want to say too much in, and there's always a little bit of suspense. what I found interesting is, right after watching the movie, I saw an interesting review, and the review said that in this film, this reviewer said that the first half was very, very boring, but the second half was a lot more interesting. And I actually kind of like the first half a little bit more. I think it's the very slow build-up where you're like, nothing bad is happening yet, but you always, always have to be quiet, and you can't allow yourself to ever forget this. And I like the family. They never actually say the names of any of these family members, though they do in the credits. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt are, of course, married in real life, and they have great chemistry. I think that's a given. I forget the name of the boy who played the son. Let me just real quick. Noah Jupe. I hope I'm pronouncing the right. Noah Jupe. He's very good. In my personal opinion, the MVP of the film is Millicent Simmons, who plays the daughter. And we saw her just last year in the movie Wonderstruck. And Millicent Simmons is deaf in real life. And in both of these movies, she plays a character who is deaf. And she was great in Wonderstruck, and she was even better in this movie. She has a lot of range to do. She's a great, great actress. And it's got to be tough for someone like her who is deaf in terms of getting a career in Hollywood. There can't be too many roles like this for her, but I hope she continues to get roles. I hope she continues to get work. I hope she gets a lot of recognition for this performance. I think you could very easily see a Best Supporting Actress campaign for her. Outside of that, I think the movie has a very real shot to contend for the Best Sound Mixing category. Maybe not sound editing, but sound mixing. I could very easily see this film being nominated. Then again, it is early in the year, and we'll wait to see exactly how the rest of the year plays out. But this is a very, very good film. John Krasinski is a very, very good director. It's surprising that this is his first film because he really has a good sense of how to make this work. He knows like how to properly build everything up. He knows how to pace it. It's a very well paced film. The only real complaint I have, is that the story, I don't know why, I guess the tension kind of went away after a while. Maybe you could argue that the gimmick was wearing off, or maybe because the people in the audience next to me were being a little noisy, and that's what took me out of it. But early on in the film, I genuinely felt like I had to be quiet, or else Emily Blunt was going to die. Like, I'm in the situation with them, and I was very, very quiet while watching the film. Usually, sometimes when I watch films, I make sort of snarky comments, but this time, I understood the importance of silence, and I understood that I had to be silent in this film. So, it can be tough figuring out which theater to go see this in. If the people in this theater are going to be very loud and talking through the whole time, then, I'm so sorry today, then that's not going to be a good, fun experience. This isn't a slumber party movie. You can make fun of the characters. Which, by the way, the characters in the movie are smarter than your typical horror movie film, but they do still make mistakes, and I think that's important to see, because this family is not indestructible. They're a normal family like you and me, like your family, like my family, and it does make you wonder, like, if I or my family was in the situation, how would we respond? What would we do? Is there any chance that we could survive in this situation? So like I said, the film was well paced out. It does have a couple of odd, maybe plot holes, you see. And the one that's most common is that when you finally find out what the weakness for the monster is, when I was watching the movie, it made sense. I liked how it was conveyed to the audience. The only thing that doesn't make sense is how exactly no one else has figured this out, because this creature supposedly took out all of mankind, and nobody else thought of this. But that's getting into spoilers. I also was not a fan of the very last shot of the film. The film ends on an ambiguous note, which is fine, but okay, I really can't describe it without going into spoilers. The last shot of the movie felt very tonally off from the rest of the film. It felt like maybe that last note should have been more family-oriented or more hopeful, or maybe even scared. But it felt like the last shot of an action movie. Like in that last final image, they changed the film's tone entirely, and it was really surprising. It didn't take me out of the film too much. I would still highly recommend this movie. It's a very, very good film. And if you're not into horror, one thing to keep in mind is that this film, even though it is a horror film, I wasn't as scared as I thought it would be. Actually, what got me more was it was surprisingly emotional. Like, I actually legitimately teared up at one point. And so did my sister. We saw this together. Um, yeah, this is a very good film. It's effective. It's emotional. I don't know what its Oscar chances are. But if you're interested to see a horror film that tries something different and a genuinely immersive cinematic experience, then A Quiet Place is for you. Uh, Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. And do not go quietly into that good night.